She pushed her own stepson into the river. But when she tried to kill him, the truth finally came out. For years, every time the loving mother-in-law hugged her daughter-in-law, the young woman lost a pregnancy. She pretended to love them, but envy lived in her heart. This was the day her secret burned in the sun for all to see. Long before the river, long before the push, there was a death. Chica's father had been a wealthy man. He owned land in the city, shops in the village, and 3 houses that could feed generations. But wealth does not protect the body. One sickness, one bed, and he was gone. On his final night, he called 2 elders into his chamber. His voice was weak, but his eyes were clear. "I have shared everything," he whispered. "Chica, my first son, will inherit my company and half the land. Obi, my second, will take the houses and farms. Let no one change this." The elders nodded. They were men of respect, men whose words carried weight in the village square. Obioma, the stepmother, sat at the corner, her wrapper tied tight. She bowed her head as though in agreement, but inside, her heart boiled. Her son Obi was lazy, spoiled. He had no hunger for work, no skill for trade. Everyone in the compound knew it. Even his own father had seen it. That was why the man gave the company to Chica, the stepson. And that was why Obioma's smile that night was a mask. When the burial ended and the drums of mourning quieted, she began her work. She cooked for Chica. She called him my son. She sat by him when he grieved. To the village, she looked like the perfect mother, selfless, kind, faithful to her late husband's wishes. But in her heart, envy was already taking root. She wanted everything, not for love, not for family, but for power. And there was one obstacle standing between her and full control: Chica's future child. If Amarachi, Chica's wife, ever gave birth to a son, the inheritance would never return to her bloodline. That was when her wickedness began. It began with joy. Months after the burial, Amarachi's laughter filled the compound again. She had been quiet, bowed by grief, but now her face glowed. Chica's hand never left her shoulder. The village whispered, "There is good news. The young wife carries life." They did not whisper long before Obioma came knocking. She arrived with baskets of fruit, wrappers folded neatly, and a smile that made neighbors nod with approval. "What a good woman," they said. "She lost her husband, yet she still stands by her stepson." Amaraki welcomed her warmly. She did not know. She had no reason to fear. "My daughter," Obioma said, stretching her arms. "Give me a hug. Let me hold you." Amarachi obeyed. She fell into the older woman's embrace. Obioma's arms closed tight around her, warm but heavy. Her palm rested briefly against Amarachi's stomach, lingering, pressing. To everyone watching, it was affection. But to Amaraki's womb, it was poison. That night, Amarachi woke with a sharp pain twisting her belly. Sweat drenched her wrapper. Blood stained the sheets. Chica rushed her to the hospital, heart pounding. The doctor shook his head. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "The pregnancy is gone." Amarachi wept until her voice broke. Chica held her, whispering, "We will try again. God's time is the best." But as they walked out, they found Obioma waiting in the corridor. She reached for Amarachi's hand, squeezing it. "Take heart, my daughter. At least you are young. Another child will come." Her words were smooth, but her eyes glittered with something Amarachi could not name. And as Obioma turned away, a faint smile tugged at her lips. The first seed of suspicion was planted. The second time, it looked like coincidence. Amarachi was glowing again. The women in the village market teased her. This one will stay. Just look at her face. This time her mother-in-law has left them after the miscarriage." Even Chica walked lighter. His laughter returned. The compound felt alive. Then Obioma arrived. She came as she always did, basket of oranges in hand, a wrapper tied neatly, her lips curled into a practiced smile. Neighbors hailed her. "Mama Obioma, you are a good woman." She laughed, waving. "I only came to see my children." Inside the sitting room, she spread the oranges on the table. "Where is my daughter? Amarachi!" Amarachi came out shyly, her stomach only beginning to show. Obioma's eyes flicked there first, her smile sharpening like a blade hidden in cloth. "My daughter, come." She stretched her arms. "Let me hug you. You know I am your mother too." Amarachi hesitated. Only a breath, only a flicker, but then stepped forward. It would be rude to refuse. Obioma's arms wrapped her close. She pressed her palm against Amarachi's back, sliding slowly toward her belly. The embrace lasted longer than it should have. Amarachi felt the heat of her hand seep into her skin. "You will give us a child this time," Obioma murmured. "I can feel it." 3 nights later, Amarachi screamed in the dark. The sheets were wet again, her body convulsed with pain. Chika carried her to the hospital, barefoot, tears streaming. The doctor did not need to speak. His eyes said it all. Another child lost. Chika's faith cracked. Amarachi's heart splintered. But Obioma arrived with a calm face. She sighed. "These things happen. Don't cry too much, my daughter. You are still young." She pressed Amarachi's hand, her grip tight. "Next time it will stay." But Amarachi noticed it now. The way Obioma's eyes always searched her belly before her words. The way her hugs left her cold. It happened a 3rd time, and a 4th. Each pregnancy ended the same way, days after Obioma's visit, after another long hug. The compound began whispering. "Is it a curse? Why do they lose children so often?" Some even blamed Amarachi herself, saying she was weak. But in her heart, Amarachi knew. It was the hugs, the hands that pressed too firmly against her womb, the way Obioma always asked, "When will I carry my grandchild?" and never left without touching her. By the 5th miscarriage, Amarachi began to tremble whenever she heard Obioma's knock. Chika, blinded by loyalty, still defended her. "She raised me, Amarachi. She cannot wish us harm. Stop suspecting her." But Amarachi's spirit was restless. Each time Obioma embraced her, it felt less like love and more like a search, as if the woman's arms were not arms at all, but nets, scanning her womb, dragging life away before it could grow. And still, Obioma would smile after each loss, shake her head and say, "Don't worry, my daughter. Children come when they are ready." But her eyes always glittered with something darker than pity. The 2nd miscarriage broke Amarachi's laughter. It was only 3 months in. She had started humming to herself while cooking, her hand always resting on her stomach. The compound women smiled knowingly. Our Amarachi is finally carrying her joy. Then Obioma visited. She arrived in daylight, her voice loud, her smile wide. "Where is my daughter?" Amarachi came out shyly, wrapper tied above her small bump. Obioma's eyes locked there immediately. She spread her arms. "Come, my daughter, let me hold you." Amarachi stepped forward. The hug was long, too long. Obioma's palm slid across her belly, pressing slightly, her smile never breaking. 3 days later, Amarachi woke with a sharp pain. Blood. Too much. The hospital was filled with shouts, nurses rushing, Chika begging the doctor. But when it was over, the doctor only shook his head. Obioma arrived that evening carrying soup. She held Amarachi's hand tightly, whispering, "Take heart. You are still young. Another one will come." Her grip lingered on Amarachi's wrist like shackles. The 3rd miscarriage was worse. Amarachi had seen it coming. The moment Obioma hugged her, she felt a coldness spread from her belly to her chest. She wanted to scream, to push her away, but she couldn't. It was her husband's stepmother. It would cause scandal. 2 nights later, the pain came again. This time, Amarachi fainted. She woke in a hospital bed, weak, the nurse shaking her head. "Madam, your body needs rest. Too many miscarriages are dangerous." When Chika told Obioma, she only sighed. "It is God's will. Perhaps she is too fragile." Her words carried pity, but her eyes carried something else, something Amarachi would never forget. By the fifth miscarriage, the compound had turned against Amarachi. "She is cursed," neighbors whispered. "Chica should take another wife. 5 children gone. This one is not ordinary." Amarachi carried the weight of those whispers like stones, but in her heart she knew it was not her body. It was not God. It was not chance. It was Obioma. It was the hugs. Each time Obioma arrived, her arms stretched wide. Each time Amarachi obeyed. Each time she lost her child within days. She began to dread the knock on the door. The sound of Obioma's voice calling sweetly, "Amarachi, my daughter," the cold grip of her arms pretending to comfort while secretly stealing. And still, Chica defended her. "She raised me," he repeated. "She cannot wish us harm." But Amarachi knew. The woman's arms were not arms. They were knives disguised as love. The 6th pregnancy came like a secret blessing. Amarachi didn't tell anyone for weeks, not even Chica. She prayed quietly, ate carefully, and avoided gatherings. But secrets do not stay secrets in a compound. By the 2nd month, her glow betrayed her. Women smiled again, their whispers lighter this time. And then Obioma came. Her knock echoed like thunder. Her voice sang, "Amarachi, my daughter, where are you? Come and greet me." Amarachi froze in the parlor. Her body remembered the pattern, the hug, the coldness, the pain, the blood. Her arms tightened around her belly. Si Chica stood. "I'll bring her in," he said. "No!" Amarachi snapped, louder than she meant. Stared, shocked. She forced a smile. "I mean, not today. I'm tired." But Obioma did not leave. She sat in the corridor, chatting with neighbors, waiting. Hours passed. Her voice floated inside, sweet and poisonous. "Children need many arms. Why deny me the joy of carrying one?" Amarachi's chest tightened. That night she made a decision. The next morning, before sunrise, she packed a small bag. She wrapped her growing belly in layers of cloth. She woke Chica gently. "I'm going to my mother's house, just for some weeks. I need peace." Chica frowned. "Amarachi!" "No," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "If I stay here, I will lose this one too." He wanted to argue, but something in her voice, the desperation, the quiet terror, made him swallow his words. He only nodded. By noon she was gone. For the first time in years, Obioma arrived and found no wife to hug, no belly to press, no excuse to smile her deadly smile. She left that day with silence burning in her chest, and in her silence her envy grew darker. The sun was high, the river shining like a blade. Villagers fetching water waved from a distance, not knowing they were about to witness betrayal. Obioma walked beside Chica, her wrapper swishing with each step. She leaned close, her voice syrupy. "Follow me, my son. I want to show you where your father once stood and made promises." Chica smiled faintly. He trusted her. This was the woman who had raised him, cooked for him, bathed him when he was small. Even after Amarachi accused her of envy, he could not erase the years of care from his heart. They reached the edge. The current rushed below, restless, foaming. Obioma's eyes flicked over the water, then back at Chica. Her smile stretched too wide. And then her hands shoved. One violent push. Chica gasped as the world tilted. His arms flailed, the sky spinning, the river rushing up to claim him. For one heartbeat, Obioma's face was the only thing he saw. Calm, satisfied, certain. Then he plunged. But Obioma had miscalculated. That morning, Amarachi had called from her mother's home, her voice urgent. "Something is wrong. I dreamt she would harm you. Don't go alone." Chica had listened. He had called his best friend Ifeanyi and quietly alerted the police. They followed at a distance, unseen, watching. So when Obioma pushed him, shouts erupted. Swimmers dove in, dragging Chica out before the river could swallow him. Police hands seized Obioma's wrists, twisting them behind her back as villagers screamed in disbelief. "Leave me!" she shrieked, her mask gone, her voice sharp as a knife. "Everything should have been mine. The inheritance, the houses, he was never meant to live." The crowd gasped. The truth had spilled at last. The river still roared, but the louder roar came from the crowd. Two men pulled Chica to the bank, coughing, choking, alive. His shirt clung to his chest, dripping water. Amarachi, who had arrived moments earlier with her mother, ran to him and fell on her knees, clutching his face, weeping with relief. But all eyes turned to Obioma. Her wrapper clung to her frame as she struggled in the police grip. For the first time, the mask of the sweet stepmother cracked. Her smile twisted into something darker, raw and bitter. "I should have finished it long ago," she spat, her voice shaking with rage. "Each time I hugged her, each time. I killed what was in her womb. 5 children gone and still you wouldn't see." The crowd gasped, some covering their mouths, some shouting, "Tufiakwa! Abomination!" Amarachi froze, her hand instinctively clutching her stomach as tears ran down her cheeks. The whispers of curses and barrenness that had haunted her burned away in an instant, replaced by the truth. Obioma's voice rose higher, echoing over the water. "Why should he inherit? Why should his wife bring forth heirs when my own son, my flesh, lies useless? I fed him, I raised him, and yet his father left me nothing but scraps. I would not allow it. I will never allow it." Chica staggered to his feet, his voice hoarse but firm. "And for that, you murdered my children? You who I called mother?" Her eyes flashed. "You were never mine! All I wanted was what belonged to my son. Your wife's womb mocked me, so I took them, one by one. And tonight, I wanted to take you too." The crowd erupted, some shouting for her death, others spitting curses. Even the elders who once defended her shook their heads in shame. The police dragged her back, but she fought, thrashing like an animal. "He is not meant to live," she screamed one last time. "The inheritance is mine." An elder raised his staff and declared, "Let it be known, this woman's envy turned to poison." Her hugs were daggers, her love a lie, but truth has unmasked her. From today, the land will remember. The police bundled Obioma into their vehicle, her wails fading into the distance. The crowd slowly dispersed, shaken but relieved. Chica, still trembling, pulled Amarachi into his arms. "No more secrets," he whispered. "No more pain. We survived." And under the blazing daylight, with the river rushing on as witness, it was clear evil may hide in hugs and sweet smiles, but it cannot hide forever. The inheritance would no longer be ruled by envy. It would be guarded by truth, love, and the living.